thank you guys so much for joining me today. We are going to go over our TAPER report, our current campus walkthrough, data collection form, and then I pulled some collection forms from other districts as well, so we could compare them. And then also, since we're on T-Test, I thought it was important for us to look at T-Test because that's how we're evaluated, and I do want to align with T-Test. However, I did in my class, we read an article, and it was a gentleman that designed this classroom visit observational protocol, and it really kind of closely aligned with T-Test in a loose way. So I kind of wanted to look at that too, and that's something that maybe we could incorporate in our new walkthrough form. But the purpose of today is to create a new walkthrough form for our campus. So things that we want to think about are the teachers that we have here. So I pulled our TAPER report to look at the experience level, how many teachers, we're all a testing grade level, so we have the testing data in there as well, the levels of experience, and just how we can best serve our teachers to give them quality feedback. So the things that we love about the forms, I want to know, and the things that you don't love about the forms or you feel like need improvement, definitely speak up so I can note those as well. So let's start with looking at the TAPER report. So on page, I believe it was 24, it has the breakdown of our campus staff. I know, sorry, it's a big report,
Okay.
but I did cut out the pages that were blank. But at the very bottom, well, first off, the top of this page talks about the count. We have 39.6 teachers. I know, right? I didn't know it was possible, but kind of. And then, but as far as professional staff, we have 47.7 professional staff, and then 56.2 staff members in our building. Again, I'm not really sure how we can have part of a person, but we do. And then, so we have 2 administrators, talks about our professional support staff, our aides, and then also like our librarians. We have Kelly as a counselor, all of that. And at the very bottom, it tells us about their years of experience. So I'm gonna just give you all a second to look at this and then note like what questions you have, and then what this information tells us that we want to make sure we're thinking about when we go into changing our current form.
We either have like kind of season or very new.
Yeah.
But if you taught for 6 years, you're pretty,
Yeah.
you know what's going on. So,
I would agree, cause the like turnover rate in that
Mhm.
first 5 years is
a lot.
insane.
I agree.
So, like from looking at this, 75% of our building has 6 or more years. So, and then
Pretty good.
over 50% of our building has 11 or more years of experience, so that's huge.
Yeah.
So our number of students per teacher is 15.8, which that takes into account like all of the professional
Right.
staff in the building. So
Right, the coaches maybe, or.
the
Yeah.
coaches, the paraprofessional support, like our teachers that are in like non-homeroom roles, like dyslexia,
Right.
GT, those support teachers as well. So definitely, I think most of the teachers, knowing this information, like most of the teachers, we wanna take into account that they have been in this profession for a long time and they probably have a lot of experience, that they bring to the table. I believe it said on here, actually, the next, here we go. the staff information of the, experience level with the district. So the average experience level of our teachers is 13 years in our building, and then the experience level with the district is 6.3 years. So that means that quite a few of the teachers have been with the district for a while. I know that our numbers have trended down in the last, 5 to 10 years of the tenure just within our district. But we do have teachers that come from other districts as well, and then bring all of that knowledge. So, something to keep in mind too. I think all of the districts around us pretty much use T-test, so, okay. Do you have any questions about or notices about that data? Perfect. So next we wanna look at the T-test rubric. This, first one is our campus, the one that we currently use. So when an administrator comes in the room, for each of these domains, they're, selecting if, we fall in the distinguished, accomplished, proficient, developing, or improvement needed, area of that domain. And then of each of the domains are split up by, the specific standard that they're looking for.
And there is a rubric or anyone that's not a classroom teacher that lines out how we get placed in each one of these.
Yes. And then at the bottom, it's comments about, about that domain. So what's really great about this is, like, if we come in and we say, like, okay, accomplished, down here, we can say that aligns, and then down here, we can note why that aligns. So it directly reflects our T-test rating, which is what we plan our goals on, and, what we're evaluated on. So, and then I love how, so below each of those domains is the comment section where you can put specifics, about the notes of what you're observing in each classroom, and then, those areas of reinforcement. Also on here, if you haven't had a walkthrough in a while, we can put no evidence, seen. So like maybe it's something that's happening, but, there wasn't an opportunity to show that, in the room. Cause some of these walkthroughs are 10 minutes long. So the first one is the one we use. The next one is HISD's, campus walkthrough form. And it also aligns with T-test, but I really liked this form. I went through quite a few, which actually several districts do not have them online, so, I really had to do some mining. But I loved here where it has specific evidence of observations. So the administrators can go and like select that or just check it, and then also, just like when we're teaching with our students, it gives us specifics of what we can look for. So I really like how they provide that on here in each of, the domains. So what do y'all think about the differences between just so far ours and then HISD's?
So on theirs, do they not, identify a level in terms of distinguished, accomplished, proficient, or do they just circle?
I think they just like circle like what they saw, and then they can put in the, evidence at the bottom. So I do think it's different from ours in the sense that they're not going through and directly selecting the rating at that time.
I don't know. I mean, it would be fun to get a sheet with all these things circled, like, oh, look at all the things I'm doing.
Mhm.
But in devil's advocate, I mean, the first section, evidence of planned instruction, I mean, Friendswood gives so much, autonomy in your classroom. Like, I don't have to post a daily schedule on the wall. I don't have to write, just because none of these are apparent, doesn't mean good things aren't happening. I don't know how to explain that, but.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, like on this one. I do like how it has all those things, but if I saw this, I would just be like, well, let me make sure I have all that done, I'm good. Like, I wouldn't really go past that, I'd just be like,
More
oh,
of a compliance.
yep,
Like,
I need to make
right,
sure I
check
do
in the
this,
box
I
that
need to
you're-
do this, I need to do that, okay, I'm done.
Like, she has a date on what wall, check, okay, oh, they're in, she's modeling a lesson, check, which is good to be recognized that you did it, but it also feels like you're just checking it off the list.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if it's on here that is something like these are the only things that they would be looking for, or,
Yes.
And I guess it
I
would-
would.
I guess it would have to be communicated, but that's, if it's still me, I would, if I knew it was on a list and someone was coming to me, I would want it all checked off. So I'd make sure I knew what was,
Right.
I'd have this
Yeah.
before I was teaching,
Right.
oh, gotta do this.
Yeah, I would have this ahead of time and I would know, okay, let me make sure these things are done so that when they walk in,
Yeah.
I'm clear.
Yeah, I
would
just
give it
made
to
sure
her,
I had
like,
the
okay,
perfect
gotta have this,
lesson.
this, this. I
Uh-huh.
mean, that same concept, you know.
absolutely,
I mean, HIC, just, it fits the HIC feel.
yes.
If this was paired with something else,
That's what
maybe-
I was about to say,
Mhm.
like, maybe if that was kind of a I mean, I don't know, call it a rubric, but like a
Something
guide,
like this,
Yeah.
go-
and then
Mhm.
you shows the evidence of how you did it, but then you went back to something more structured
Like,
with,
what does
Yeah.
this mean, what's in that, what is, like, examples, kind of.
And what I liked is, I mean, I wanna know how,
Yeah.
right? And then I also want the example, so I love how ours, like the foundation of it. But I do think that this is great if you were the one appraising to be able to say, oh, I definitely saw that.
I definitely
definitely saw
right,
that.
That's
maybe
such a-
Almost
this,
like a
this
key.
should be more of a guide for the appraiser
Mhm.
versus what the teacher actually is getting.
And I wonder, like, okay, if this was presented from a teacher standpoint of like check boxes, right? I wonder if it's going to show the ones that aren't checked. That's what would bother me and feel like, oh my gosh, I wasn't doing that, like,
You can't.
if, right. But if my little box wasn't checked, or from the administrator side, they saw this and now it's showing on the notes, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Where just because it wasn't checked, it's not showing on there like this wasn't done. So I was kind of curious about that, but I wanna know, I think that if you didn't have this, like distinguished, accomplished, proficient, developing, improvement needed, that when you got to the very end with your summative, if you had never heard you're proficient in this, right?
Yeah.
And you get to the end and you're like, oh, like, I think I was accomplished or distinguished. And then you're reading the feedback, and yes, you're having the conversation with an administrator, but there's a lot of different domains. So if you have never heard proficient, and then you get to your final walkthrough, and especially now with TIA, which we were talking about the other day in PLC, but that would be a hard swallow, right? Like,
Yeah, I wanna know where I stand.
Yeah, throughout the
I want
year.
specific feedback, so if they came in my room and they circled small group, great, I was doing it, it doesn't tell anything about the quality of the instruction in the group, am I bringing in global connections, am I, like, what am I doing, just because they're at my table doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
It's very surface level, that's why I
Well, this is where they would write it here,
yeah,
but,
I just,
Mhm.
yes.
but it
There's
definitely.
sure not a lot of room there.
There's not a lot.
Right.
But
Very
yes,
couple words.
I mean, I guess if we could maybe merge it
Mhm.
to where they still have plenty of room to,
So is that something we would, like if we, when we're incorporating our new one, would we want kind of like a bank of those ideas to put on there? Or would it be something that,
I think that just providing the different examples of what each one is, like almost in that rubric, that kind of would go with that.
Yeah, what is proficient, what is,
Like, what do we need to see?
in
What's-
order for you to be proficient, you need to show,
yeah, and it's like all caught up in those verbs, like most of the students, all of the students, you know, most of the time.
always.
I mean, it would be
It
kind
goes
of
from
good,
teacher-led to
like,
student-centered.
for like the principals and stuff to have something of like, you know, if so many of these are checked off or whatever, then it goes to proficient, or I don't know, like.
We had one like this in Pearland-ish, a long time ago, and one of them said like teachers at desk. Like it said, it had some like, and, you know, I mean, when they walk in, they're
Yeah.
gonna circle what you're doing.
I wonder, so that wouldn't be like small group table, that would be like not teaching the class.
Right.
Okay, so flip to the next page, cause, the Pearsall ISD, I hope I'm saying that right, they kind of incorporate a little bit of what we just talked about, right? Check all that apply is specifically on here. And it says strategies to look for, so I think this is like a great maybe foundational guide for the administrators, but, and then it also, as a teacher, I feel like it tells you exactly what, they're looking for when they come in. But again, you brought up autonomy earlier, and with the autonomy that we do have in our district, is that something that I think there's a lot of teachers that would agree, they don't want a checklist of, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, right?
I mean, I like this one a little more actually. The first section is, that just puts me off, like posting the I will statements and all that, like that's just a compliance piece, like that's not necessarily necessary for quality instruction, in my opinion. But I like the rigor rate, I like that, I think that's a good, like, and I think it's important to see what the kids are doing. You know, like if every time they come in and the kids are just listening to you giving the instruction, then that's a talking point with the administrator, where it's like, hey, every time I come in, it's teacher led, it's, you know, like,
Yeah.
it would be a good record.
I like the student engagement piece, and I also like the, where it says, where was it? Like teacher location, like it would be cool to have a tally, because,
There it is.
that's definitely like a,
Not present.
just almost.
Sorry, I didn't notice that
That But I feel like,
Bathroom break.
but I do feel like that would be, a good for like the teacher to see, like, and just the behavior, instead of like, is your classroom, what is your management style? I think that would help, like, I liked how they added that.
And then if you look, like down here, we talked about how domains 2 and 3 are the most impactful, right? And then even TIA, right here it says like refinement and reinforcement.
I like that.
So they're not necessarily committing to like a specific level, but maybe like what they're seeing right then that's going well, and then what's not going well, right? So, and then with the notes on there, and then I really like how it says follow up and feedback. But I do like how these are a lot of the things we talk about, like the teacher directed, low yield, student directed, high yield. And then on this first page with that rigor rate, how even like the verbs with understanding, so complete, interpret, outline, paraphrase, restate, summarize, describe, list, like truly when we go back and evaluate the activities and the questions that we're asking, I think that really puts into perspective and makes those conversations maybe easier with our evaluator of like what point of the lesson were you at, right? Like was that the beginning of the unit, or are we towards the end of the unit where we should absolutely be seeing these things even towards the beginning of the lesson? Good. So what would,
That one had some good.
what from here would y'all want to make sure that is included in a new walkthrough form, or what you don't think is super important?
I mean, I kinda like this last where it says like check only like one for the refinement and one for the reinforcement, cause wouldn't that as for a teacher know that's what I need to kind of work on and stuff?
We
like-
do that anyway, like
Oh, they
T-test,
do
that's
that.
kind of the practice.
Um,
They kind of highlight that at the end of your, kind of at your summative, I guess. They tell you, like, what are you really good at and what's something that you could improve on. And they kind of have to pick, even if you're an amazing teacher, they're gonna tell you, they have to tell you something, right? So I do think that's cool to know along the way. I like the best practices section.
Kelly, what do you think about this, like, teacher location, like knowing, how our
think they
campus
would-
strategy with PBIS?
Yeah, I think that would be a very helpful thing for our PBIS committee, like, just to know, like, what teachers are that, or like even this one, like, how their engagement, or the positive ratio thing, cause we're working on that as, but.
Our administrators are really great because we are a TIA district where they're participating, like if they walk through and you are doing a desk clean out, they're gonna peek in and they're gonna go, oh, I'll catch you later. They're not gonna come in and do
Right.
this, you know, but I know at other districts,
That's
maybe
what
it's,
you are,
it is
yeah.
what it is kind of a thing, and we're very fortunate to where they're gonna look on your master schedule, they're gonna see when you're doing, especially, they usually come to me always in small group, where there's some kind of a small group workshop model, because that's where they're gonna see the student, and they know that's where they're gonna see those things that they're looking for, and so that's when they come.
I agree with that.
And I've noticed like this year, like even coming, like at different times, and like I've had like a morning and an afternoon, where, you know, you're truly seeing
Mhm.
with how our class makeup is. You know, I have like an inclusion class and a GT class, so you're really seeing like all aspects of
Right.
teaching. So I think, that's something that they've been doing all as well.
I like the rigor check and the,
I love that too.
all of it, I mean, there's nothing bad on
I'm not
there.
really, I think it's really awesome that our district though always gives like that feedback, and they don't just say, no, you're good, we don't have to,
Right.
like, they're always constantly, so I don't really like that.
The walkthroughs I appreciate the most are the ones that a former principal did, where he would write very detailed, like word for word what I said, and he would be able to say, no, you are at this level because I heard you say this, this, and this, like, he knew what he was looking for, and he would note it, and it wasn't just to check the box, and I always left feeling really good, and I'm like, wow, I'm better than I thought I was.
Right, yeah.
Like cause he knew what he was listening for, and he really was listening, he wasn't just walking through to check. So that's just what makes me leery of the check the boxes,
Yeah.
because I don't want a principal to come in and just check the boxes, because then they don't sit and really hear what you're,
Yeah, we
or
are.
not,
I agree.
cause we to get TIA, you really need those high ratings, and the only way you're gonna get them is if your principal is in there listening to what you're saying and really, they're engaged
Right,
in
that's
what
what
is happening.
they're engaged.
And they are knowing and appreciating the strategies that you're using, and if they're just looking for, oh, small group check this, I mean, that could fit on our rubric, that could fit in any box. It doesn't necessarily put you in the high one. That's just me.
Yeah.
But as a first year teacher, I might appreciate the check the box, like,
Well, and then also like, again, if they're going in thinking, oh, I have a checklist that I have to accomplish, like, are they truly being open to what's happening in the room?
Yeah.
And, like, for part of my, one of my projects, I had to script a lesson, and it was, like, incredibly time consuming, but also I was so thankful it was on video, because I could stop the video and write it, like, to see exactly what was happening, and then, like, when I listen, I might hear, like, another student say something, and that's incredibly difficult to do,
Yeah.
like,
I
in the
bet.
classroom. So I can only imagine, like, the level of difficulty when it's not on a video.
Right.
And I appreciate, I mean, I get that they wanna take notes and stuff, right? And that's important too, and wanting to know, like, have that exact feedback of what was said. But when you're coming in with, like, even, when we do our learning walks, to just say, oh my gosh, like, I didn't even know that I was looking for that, and I love, like, how you interacted, and how you did that, and how you transitioned, and, I've learned some of the, like, funniest, like, most simple things, but, like, powerful on learning walks that I wouldn't have thought to ask somebody else, but,
I guess it just depends, like, is there a way to have like a different form for a different type of a walkthrough, like, I know some teachers would just appreciate your principal just walking through and seeing what's going on and giving some compliments, and like, it's a nice walkthrough, you did great, the kids were on task. But then other times you need the data to, I hate to keep bringing up TIA, but like, you need it to match, so you, but every time do you want your principal on a laptop, like, typing away, it's kinda stressful, like,
right.
but you need that data.
Well, and I've noticed this year, so when I talked to Emily about, like, our form, it was the first one that we looked at, but like this year, she's been doing like descriptive, notes and reflection questions, for the first time, and so it's not like checking like the actual rating, but it's going through and like making note of what was said, and then those like guiding questions, even like before we did planning, some of the, she was like, I wanted to make sure she like you could send a message
Mhm.
that you got this prior to planning, so you could go in like with this in mind.
Mhm.
And, like as someone who's new to a grade level, I really appreciated that, like, oh, okay, like, this is where the focus, you know? And so, but also those guided notes like aren't reflective at all. So some of them I'm like, was that an actual walkthrough, or was like she just taking like, you know, because now we've changed to instead of like the 2 15 minutes and the 1 45 minute. So I'm not quite sure yet, but I do like the feel a little bit better of them too. So this last one isn't T-test related at all, but just like the alignment of instruction, rigor of instruction, student engagement, and then the classroom and instructional organization. And then in this article, he even went as far to kind of highlight, like, as far as like test scores, where that teacher felt of what the focus should be, like in that protocol. And then there's just these are like the rubrics for it. And you could go through and circle, or there's this like shortened version of excellent, good, acceptable, poor, and unacceptable. And then just 1 or 2 key observations, that should be addressed right away.
I like
So-
this one. I like to know where I stand and why I'm there.
You like this?
Yeah.
I really,
Just because, but I think we could make
Bless
it
you.
a little more, because we are, you know, a little more T-test like, but I don't know how closely, cause I don't have T-test, well, I do have it in front of me, but how closely aligns this to T-test, but maybe even more so a little
It's
bit.
kind of the same.
In teacher-friendly language, is that what all it is?
it pretty much is. So there's a lot of similarities, but I think like this was written by like a single person, right? And his background was instructional coaching and ELA. So some of itself definitely lends itself a little more to ELA focus, like the classroom library is well stocked and kid friendly.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, 5th
I
grade
already
math,
have it, yeah.
we, I have one, but like how often is that really utilized, from a daily basis? Where in the article he even goes as far to say it's like, if it's ignored, like that's a sign of basically like not quality teaching, right? And so things like that. But I do like how they give specific examples. However, I will say that in the T-test appraisal guide, it goes through and gives a lot of these examples. It just doesn't necessarily have them on their rubric in the same like friendly language, I guess. It says like most, all, some. So do y'all think that would it be more important? Oop, we're over time. So,
They just stopped. And I'll
would
say,
you-
"Oh,
do you think that this would be important for us to incorporate in the new one? Like for kind
I
of
think we
the
could do
friendly
that.
language?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
Alright. Well, thank y'all so much for your time, and as soon as I draft it, I will share it with you guys, and I appreciate y'all so much.
Sorry, I
Thanks.
just stopped telling you.
Nope.
And we